Go ahead, Don.
I'll call the meeting of the Public Information, Truth and Taxation meeting for City of Nisswa, Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. It's 6:30 p.m. at City Hall. And we'll turn it over to the administrator to make the presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the council. Tonight, we will be discussing, I'm taking my mask off, our proposed 2021 City of Nisswa budget and our 2020 pay 2021 property tax levy. So I'm going to start with the end in mind for members who are here, members of the public who are here in at the council chambers, and then also for those who are watching online. So I'm going to go through a brief presentation about our budget and our levy, and then there will be an opportunity for public comment. You'll state your name and address, limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. For those watching virtually, you can email your questions to our city clerk. I've put John's email address at the bottom of the slide, and I've also put it at the bottom of about every other slide during the presentation. So in case something pops up, you can grab that email and email us a question, and we will check those just before we adjourn the meeting. So the purpose of tonight is to fulfill a state requirement that we hold a public hearing prior to adoption of a budget and levy for the upcoming tax year. The meetings must be held at 6 o'clock or later in the evening and include time for public comment. This is not intended to discuss property valuations or classifications. Welcome. For that, you would need to contact Crow Wing County Land Services. You can contact them anytime throughout the year if you have questions on your property values. But this is specifically for the City of Nisswa budget. So our city budgets are divided into funds based on their purposes of revenue. That's required in state statute and also according to generally accepted accounting principles. We basically track the activity of each different types of funds so that we keep the revenues, the in-stream coming and the outgoing expenditures together to see how healthy the funds and the activities are progressing each year. We have governmental funds, proprietary funds, and non-major funds. And our governmental funds includes our general fund and our debt service fund. That's primarily what the public and the council is focused on throughout the year. And our general fund includes those basic typical city services that you would see, city clerk, elections, police, public works, planning and zoning, etc. Our debt service fund includes all of our bond issuance activity throughout the year. Our proprietary funds are also known as enterprise funds for the City of Nisswa. That includes our liquor fund, comprised both of Spirits of Nisswa and the Pickle Factory, and then our sewer fund as well. Then we have a few non-major funds. Specifically for us at this time, we have special revenue funds, including our fire department. That's accounted for as a special revenue fund because we contract service with other municipalities, so we track that separately. And our community center and our parks and rec programs and departments are accounted for separately in our non-major funds. So a very high-level budget summary is shown on the slide here. On the top half of the screen, we have our 2020 current budget amounts for those major categories I just described a minute ago. As a reminder, included in the governmental funds is the activities of the general fund. And for 2020, our budget balanced was $3,033,048, both from a revenue side and an expenditure side. You can see for 2021, our proposed budget is just a bit above that, 1.75 increase over 2020 at $3,086,037. So a couple things to note there is that one, we have a balanced budget. And that is one of the priorities for me. If we can accomplish that, that is very important, mostly from the perspective of when we go and issue bonds, credit rating agencies like to see that we have a balanced budget, and we have a history of balanced budgets. There's certainly reasons why you might not in a given year have a balanced budget, but and those can be explainable whether we're predicting or anticipating an increase in revenues from a specific source, or if we're going to intentionally spend down fund balance, we might have rationale for that. But overall, the general rule of thumb is to have a balanced budget, which we've accomplished for this upcoming year. I'll speak a little bit to some of the elements of the proposed 2021 budget as a follow-up from our last budget workshop in November. So on the revenue side, specifically for the general fund, our revenues consist of our general fund levy and then our fees for services that we charge as a city for different activities. Planning and zoning would be a great example of that, where we charge fees for applications and we process them. So we have our levy and our revenues via fees for services. And then we have a transfer from our liquor fund. So as the council knows, we take the profits or some of the profits from spirits and the pickle and bring it into the general fund to help offset those costs every year. Part of my balancing the 2021 budget after our November workshop was to consider how much we were transferring from the liquor fund. And in order to make the budget balanced, I did increase the transfer from spirits from 220,000 to 225 for next year. So I did increase that slightly. I did also want to mention the levy is roughly 80% of the overall revenues in the general fund, and then the fees for services and the transfer from the liquor fund represent about 20%. So it's an 80-20 split. On the expenditure side, some of the assumptions that we built into the budget include a cost of living of 2% for staff, or if there's a union contract in place, we budgeted accordingly for that. A health insurance contribution increase of 5% for next year. Commission and committee pay, I landed at $25 a meeting. The $80 per meeting still applies for planning and zoning commissioners, but for our public works and our parks, as this is a new budgeted line item, I had originally planned for $50 a meeting, and I brought that down to $25 to help make all of these different areas work. My goal over the next year or two would be to get that to $50 a meeting, because I think that that would be a nice spot to land, but we'll start at 25 and work on that each year going forward. Also included in the budget is the $70,000 cost for the recycling center. $35,000 is included on the revenue side on the top end as contribution from Crow Wing County, as they've committed to provide us for next year. Our property liability insurance is at 0%, but our workers' comp, as I've mentioned, is reflective of a 13% increase in our rates for next year. We did take out the line item for the county and state road project. We were trying to build a reserve account for those future projects we were anticipating coming to us and being a part of that in our city. So we have zero budgeted for that next year. And then one nice thing is we're able to make all of these other elements work. If you recall, in November, I had included a $26,000 spend down of our unreserved fund balance, and this budget reflects a $0 amount there. So we're not using any of our unreserved fund balance. This is just an overview for the public. If they're ever wanting to follow up on the slides, they can see the top half of the screen reflects the general fund revenues, and then all of the different departments that are incorporated into the general fund. It shows in the highlighted cells the 1.75 increase to the budget for next year, and then also the balanced budget. So budgeting is one aspect of the process that we go through for about 6 months, starting in July and then now ending in December. The other half of the equation is the levy. So we have to work through both of those items to get to land in both of those final numbers. So in September, the City Council approved a preliminary levy amount of $2,538,965, which reflected a 3% increase over 2020. The final levy cannot be higher than this amount. We can lower it, but it can't go above that. So the council set the ceiling in September, and then we continue to work on the budget over the next few months. In mid-November, the county mailed the proposed property tax statements to all property owners within the county, but specifically for Nisswa as well. And I will say for those, because I know we have some folks in the room and maybe some listening, I certified the wrong amount to the county. So your taxes reflected a much higher amount proposed than what actually was supposed to be there. So as we go through the rest of the presentation, you'll see what is going to be reflected in the final amount. And I apologize for that. Simply a mathematical error, and I sent it off, and that just was what it was. So a fully correctable thing, which is good. And that's kind of where we landed. So I did receive, I wrote it down, I think it was 9 calls or emails asking questions about that. And once I explained that, there were no concerns about the levy. So tonight we have our public hearing, and we'll have time for public comment. And then at the regular council meeting, the council will approve the levy and approve the budget for next year. So based on the information I shared with you on our proposed 2021 budget, reflecting the 1.75 increase in the budget, we will end up with a 1.82% increase in our levy at $2,510,000. And so that will be the amount that's certified to the county this week to finalize that. So that's a decrease of just under $29,000 from the preliminary levy that was approved by the council. But again, we have the 1.75 increase in our budget and the 1.82 increase in our levy. Part of our budget process this year, we worked on something new, which is this tax impact model. It's kind of hard to see all of the information on this screen, but the full sheet is on our website if anyone wants to look at it. And basically, it shows the difference between the current 2020 levy and then the proposed 2021 levy. So for a residential homestead property, you can look at the valuation amount closest to what your home value is, and you can see what your current taxes are and then what the proposed taxes are with the final 1.82% levy increase there. So the other piece to that is the property valuations. I was able to get the 2021 valuations from the county, and our net tax capacity, which is just a formula function of our total tax base, increased by 5.2%. And with the increase in that tax capacity, we spread the levy over more value across the city. So with this spreadsheet calculation showing property taxpayers should see a very flat, assuming no valuation changes individually, to a slight decrease in their taxes for next year. Again, this full sheet is on the website as well. If you have commercial properties, it's there. If you have other types of properties as well. So this has been consistent over the past couple of years. I'd just like to show the slide that Nisswa is the 5th lowest tax rate in Crow Wing County as of 2020. When I look at those other 4 communities who have lower tax rates, really the only like city is Cross Lake compared to services, tax base, population, and some of those things. So we are second in the county as far as lowest tax rate when we compare kind of more apples to apples comparable cities. But we are all overall 5th lowest, which is very consistent for us and a nice place to be. Just a quick graphic to show the breakdown of the classifications. This was from 2019. It's very similar. It's probably hard to read on the screen there, but it's about 45% residential property valuations in the city, 42% seasonal, and then 5 to 6% each between resort and commercial property. So the breakdown is very consistent from year to year. Estimated market values continue to go up. In 2019, they had gone up just over 4%. 2020, just over 10%. And then again, for 2021, we're seeing 4.25% increase in our valuations, which is nice to see.
Jenny, is that those valuations, is that just residential, seasonal, or does that include commercial and all categories?
That includes everything. Yes. Okay, so again, I have this slide up for our public input process. So I will step aside and give the council an opportunity to hear from anyone who'd like to provide a comment. Again, if you have questions and you're watching online, you can email our city clerk. There's the email there. Very quickly before I step aside, I just wanted to thank the staff for working with me throughout this process, and specifically Maggie for working with me on all the spreadsheets and the details. And it was a good budget process to work with her on that. So we just wanted to thank her for that. And I will answer questions if the council has any. Otherwise, we can open for public comment.
I have no questions at this time.
No.
Thank you.
Go ahead. So yes, if we have any questions from the audience and citizens,
Yes, Mr.
please
Chair,
come up.
members of the council.
Please state your name for the.
My name is Wallace Schob and I live on Fawn Lake Lane, Nisswa, Minnesota. My question was, and it's been partially answered, the reason my taxes for the city of Nisswa went up 21.2% was that you submitted the wrong amount to the.
Yes, yes.
So what amount did you submit to them?
I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but it reflected a 20 to 25% increase depending on your property and
My property's
specifics.
homestead.
Just, and from the feedback I received, it was anywhere from 20 to 25, just depending on the type of property. So that's why you saw what you saw there.
Okay,
Yes,
so it's going to be considerably less now that you've corrected that.
yes, absolutely.
So the other question I have is, when you budget for your capital expenditures, do you have a 10-year plan in place or do you just do it from year to year?
I'd say the answer is both, depending on the department. Some departments are heavier in equipment and therefore more planning is required than others, but that is something we are working on as well to get that citywide implemented for a long-range planning.
Because as a former school administrator, we had to have a 10-year budget and each year it had to be updated. And that determined how much we were going to levy and it kept the levy pretty stable
Yes,
over a 10-year period, see?
yes,
So you didn't have the highs and the lows.
yes, that's certainly the goal, is to keep it as even, as you can without having to
Yeah, okay.
adjust. Yes,
Thank you.
yes, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, I just jumped in answering questions, so I hope that's okay. Just want to make sure.
That's your job to do that, so.
Perfect.
Unless they specifically ask one of us council members.
Okay.
Anyone else? Questions about the levy tax rates for the year? Do you have any questions? Okay, please come up and state your name for the record.
My name's Craig Ross, and I got this to show you.
Yes, your proposed statement, yes.
So, and what's your concern, the large increase, Craig?
139.60%.
Yes, and that actually is a mistake that was sent out. And I can let Jenny explain it, but actually your tax rate will be going down by a slight percent, not going up at all. But there was a calculation error when that was sent out.
Yes. So your final will reflect much closer to the 1.82 That's just a general city rate, depending on your property, you know, that it's not a perfect exact amount, but you can, between a 1% and 3% will be what your final number will be.
So it's not going to be 130.
No.
All right.
So I apologize for the confusion.
Well, they also had that thing where they changed my property line.
Okay.
You see that one? This is a survey that my uncle had done in 1984. It shows straight across. Straight across, right?
Mhm.
This is the original one from the 1800s. Straight across. Straight across. Then this develops. I go over there one day and there's a guy cutting wood, or he hauled the dock and stuff over on my property. So I wonder what the heck happened. And there I went. Anyhow, there was they changed it on the GPS thing, and there was a big tooth coming down like this and went back up. And he'd put his dock and stuff on there, because I would imagine he thought it was his. I went to the county to try to straighten it out, and I don't know how they can change a property line without letting you know. But here it is. See the tooth coming down? See the tooth coming down?
I can see that for a moment.
Now, I don't know how they can change that without letting you know.
This is a different matter.
Right. But you can bring it up. So Craig, what I would, that is a legitimate question and a legitimate matter. I would suggest first that you talk with the county about it.
Well, I've been talking.
Okay, and then if there's some concern, I would bring it to the city, talk with Jenny, and she'll get it to the right, get you to the right person, whether it's planning and zoning, the city council, city attorney, whoever, if there's something that the city needs to do.
All right, well, it's gone from an acre to 0.62 or something. You know, maybe it's because that tooth they put down and they took away. Then they tell me there's nothing you can do on it because it's, you know, because of setbacks, which I can, you know, pretty much agree with. But this piece of property's been in our family since the 1800s. And all of a sudden in 1 year, things go crazy because I had them fix that tooth, that chunk of land that came down. But I mean, if you guys can remedy it, that'd be great, but I'm a little kind of hot about it, but.
Something, if you're going to be around right before we start the council meeting, I'm going to anticipate our city attorney is going to be here. You could ask Mr. Pearson about it quickly, and he might be able to give you a little direction too. It's not exactly the purpose of this meeting, but I appreciate you bringing it up because I would be extremely shocked myself to find out something like that.
Shocked ain't the word for it. I mean, my God, that's like a COVID pay increase for everybody but me. You know, geez.
Yeah.
But, well, thanks for your time. I don't know if that's how these things work, but.
Oh, appreciate you, appreciate your questions. Thank you. Anyone else? Mike just asked questions online. Any questions? Thank you, Mike. There's no one else. We're basically done, aren't we? For this meeting? Motion to adjourn, please.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second by Hoff. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Take a short break. Council meeting will start at 7 o'clock.